Well, hello again, and welcome back to Lanes Explorer, riding his Hunter. And it's been a little while, so this is going to be a little bit longer than my usual rides, around about 30 minutes altogether. And I'm trying to please everybody here. Is this possible, I ask myself? Very unlikely. Anyway, we're going to have a bit of traffic. We're also going to have some faster roads. We're riding off to the seaside, and that's Sandy Bay we'll be riding to. It's not actually called Sandy Bay, but that's one of the places that Rupert used to go to in his stories, along with Rocky Bay. However, we're not going by train as he would have done. We're riding our Hurricane, and I can tell it's a Hurricane because it's got a little blue dot, which you might just catch a glimpse of every now and again. That little road off to the left there leads us to the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds site. However, we're now in Carnforth, and this is our heavier traffic bit we're going to ride through. We have to go through this to get out onto the more enchanting roads, and we're going to have some faster road work too, so that'll please some, I'm sure. We also have to ride along that too to get to these this nice little bit of woodland that we're going to be riding through later on. Now, over on the right hand side, although we've passed into a 50 limit, we have to slow down again to 30 because we have some building works going on, and they've put a 30 limit. Understandably, it's a lot of men working in the road. Now we're out onto the A6, heading off towards the village of Beetham, and we're going to turn off at Beetham, and we're going to ride through that woodland, and that eventually will take us to the seaside. So there's an awful lot of very pleasant riding, and this whole ride, I think, should really be called the joy of motorcycling. I suppose I could encompass that to be the joy of riding on two wheels, because way back when I was a wee boy, I had a little tricycle, and I soon found I could ride on two wheels on that tricycle. Eventually the spokes said, no, that's enough, and they collapsed on me, but it was great fun while I did it. And I've been riding on two wheels ever since, and a very keen cyclist I was for about 50 years, and 50 plus years, and now back on powered two wheels again. So yes, the joy of motorcycling. An Ainsworth rider, I did notice on his rides out, he's always very cheerful, and I did mention this to him. He said, well, I'm on a motorcycle. He said, I'm always cheerful when I'm on a motorcycle, and I know exactly what he means, and I'm sure you do too. For those of you who ride motorcycles, you don't have to ride fast, though we're doing what, we're 50 miles an hour here. Don't have to ride fast. You can ride anywhere and just enjoy the pleasure of being on those two wheels. In fact, my greatest pleasure, of course, does come from being a bit slower down these little lanes, and that's what we'll be seeing soon. Now, this is one of those days when motorcycling is even more of a joy than usual. I mean, I'm quite happy riding in rain and damp conditions. Not too keen on the very cold weather, don't like that, but today is absolutely perfect, and I just wish I could share the sense and the pure, utter joy of this morning. It really was something special. Now, that could have been me. It probably was, a lot to do with it. I had a good night's sleep for a change, and so I thought, get on out and enjoy that perfect day. It's so beautifully warm yet not hot, and there's very little breeze. Here we are, we're at Beetham. We're just going to turn off to the left here, go through this what is normally a very quiet little village, but there's obviously a bit of work going on up at the front top end here. There's quite a few vans parked, and so we're negotiating our way through here. Someone cutting his hedge. Must be working in there somewhere, I'm not quite sure, can't see. Anyway, we'll soon be past this. and up this junction and turn off to the left, and then we'll be through our enchanted woodland. Now whilst I've ridden these roads and you have ridden these roads with me in the past, because we're now at high summer, as we call it, although you could be forgiven, we had really warm weather back in June, of course, as you know, for weeks on end without any rain, and then we seem to have had rain and high winds ever since, and it's been difficult to get out for any longish rides. I have been out for some rides, but it's just been difficult. You've been dodging the showers all the time. But this is a lovely morning to be out riding, and in the meantime, of course, the trees have all grown in, and that's what I mean about an enchanted woodland. It feels like this as you go through it, with this overhanging canopy. It was rather delightful riding through, because I thought, well, I don't even recognise this because it's all changed so much in the interim. Oh yes, and a couple of things that I have been talking about in the past and ought to mention now. We do now have a little lens hood on the camera to help with that bright sunlight. Although today we do head in from very bright conditions into deep shade because of this overhanging canopy, and we're actually into that canopy proper now that I spoke about, which makes it feel more enchanting. And the other thing that I've thought about doing, but after this ride realised I didn't need to, was that you may remember that on my meter I had a thing called the indicator, which used to beep when I put the indicators on, so that helped me turn them off, because not being self-cancelling like they are on a car, on some motorcycles I believe, it's all too easy to leave these indicators flashing, and that could be very nasty. So I fitted one to the meter, which a couple of you actually missed, amazingly enough. It was very useful, and it wasn't too difficult to wire into the meter. And after a ride, it must have been about a week and a half ago, just in between these showers I was speaking about, I inadvertently left out indicators on 3 times, and I thought, this is not good, Peter. You're going to have to fit that indicator back on to one of these bikes and see how you get on. Well, when I came to wire it in, I ordered the parts. I have the indicator already, but I needed some special little clips to break into the wiring system without doing too much damage, and they haven't arrived. So I thought, well, I have to get out and ride anyway. And after this ride, I found I didn't need the indicator, because I didn't leave the indicators on once. So I think I must just have been tired. And I think that's something to be very much aware of, is not to go out riding when you're feeling a bit less than 100%. Which, if you're riding to work, of course, you can't do. You have to ride no matter what. But anyway, by the by, we don't need the indicator. But perhaps it might help to have this for one or two of you. Yes, James, that's especially for you and Chris and Gary down in Spain. So we're going to take a right turn here onto this road once this little car's gone past. And just up here, I see they've put some chevron signs, because it's all too easy to ride down the little side road straight to their, I think it's a caravan site or something. It's just here. It's so easy to ride down there. I'm sure many people have done that. However, I know of it from the opposite direction. The very first time I rode down this road in the opposite direction, I actually went down there thinking that was the road. So I'm not alone, obviously. this is one of the bits where it goes really dark. And it's quite hard actually riding from that very bright light into the darkness like that. I'm sure you also find that. Surely it's not just me. Now, isn't this charming? Well, I think so anyway. However, we do come out of it eventually and onto more open roads. Now, I spoke about Rupert and Sandy Bay and the other place he used to go to the seaside, Rocky Bay. Now, I'm a great follower of Rupert Bear. I have been since I was a child, and I had the annuals, a couple of annuals way back then. And of course they disappeared, as these things do. I think they got passed on to other children for them to enjoy. They were second hand when I got them. But he's remained with me ever since. Now this is, I'll just break off here and I'll just mention that wall on the right hand side there. Now, absolutely beautiful, that wall, and that lovely view across it into the open land. And that over there is Walton Greg. No, it's not. It's Ironside Knot. Apologies for that. Got a bit confused a bit where I was there after coming at Enchanted Woodland. So yes, magnificent condition that wall's in. And this is rather a nice little road running down along here. No, it doesn't get heavily used, which is rather nice. This is a weekday, and around about 10 in the morning. And I was quite surprised. I actually left home before the children got off to school. Although next week, I think they're on holiday, and so it should be quieter. They never get up before after lunchtime, do they? Parents about 10:30, as I recall. So yes, Rupert, and I've always liked the way that the Rupert stories embody all that's good, I think, about humankind, the unselfishness, cheerfulness, and as a friend of mine has said, he was an honourable bear, and he is an honourable bear. The stories continue in the same way. What first I enjoyed about Rupert, I think, were those stories, but as I got a little bit older I realised that the artwork that Alfred Bestel especially, he was the long-term illustrator of Rupert Bear, and his artwork is just magnificent. Before him it was Mary Turtle. She was the originator of Rupert Bear, and he took over when her eyesight started to fail in about 1935 it was. And fortunately they made available back in the 1990s, they reprinted in the original style those very first Rupert Bear annuals, and they're absolutely beautiful, a delight to have. They're facsimile editions. They're not really for collectors, because collectors want mint condition, unprice clipped originals. Now how you get hold of those I have no idea, but they pay an absolute fortune for them. I'm not prepared to pay that, but these facsimiles are available at a much more reasonable price, so I was able to get hold of a lot of these facsimiles over a period of years, and thoroughly enjoyed Rupert Bear stories. With all these chums, Bill Badger, Algie, and not forgetting Tiger Lily, of course. So now we're heading off towards Silverdale, and once again we've been along this road in the past, but not in this direction. We came in the opposite direction, and it all looks very different here. I didn't actually recognise this as I was riding through. I thought, I wonder where this is leading us, and then I realised there's sort of signpost for Silverdale. I thought, ah yes, Silverdale, I know where we are. So what have you all been up to while I've been away? Well, I know what a few of you have been doing because you told me, and despite it being winter on the other side of the world, I know that some of you have been out on your hunters enjoying them, and also know that some in this country who now have their hunters are also finding great pleasure in them. Other motorcycles are available, of course, and we must not forget those with the Meteor and the Classic 350 Reborn, although young Nick in Yorkshire seems to be having a little bit of trouble with his, although he seems to have solved the gearbox problem of jumping out of top gear, although he's now got the frozen speedometer problem, although he seems to have cured that for the time being, so let's hope he has. Martin Trafford has been out on an electric bicycle riding one of the trails that they have in Derbyshire. I've done some cycling along those trails too, and I can say that they are absolutely fantastic. They go through some wonderful scenery, and of course, being a converted railway track, they're flat. One that I was on, we thought would actually take us right into Buxton, I think it was, but it stopped short of Buxton, which was a bit disappointing. Nevertheless, whether it's been continued right into Buxton now, I don't know. Perhaps Martin will tell us. Oh, Merciamoto. Yes, I mustn't forget Merciamoto has been very kind to me. He's at the end of this video, you will find something that he has done for me. He's a technical whiz, and he's made a little something for me. So if you watch this right to the end, you'll see that. Anyway, he and a few friends have been out on the Isle of Skye riding. He on his Scram, and I think there were a brace of hunters, I believe. I'm not quite sure about that, but he's certainly done a recent ride in the evening where he was out with two friends. He was on his CCM, and they were a brace of hunters as well. Now, I did actually slow down a little bit back there because there was a turning which was signposted Eves Wood, and I have actually done some walking there, so now I know where I am, but I never realised this wall was so lovely. Another one of these lovely dry stone walls in such perfect condition, and it goes on and on. Well maintained. So good to see that. It's had one or two repairs, as you might expect, one just coming up here, I think. A bit of a repair in there, but look at that. Fantastic wall, and I think this must be the entrance to the estate over on the right hand side here. Looks very much like it would be. Anyway, we're down to a 20 limit and we're coming into Silverdale. Now, Silverdale village is off on the left, so this is a little bypass which takes you out beyond and off towards Arnside. Now, I think once before we did actually stop here, and that was way back though, wasn't it, as I recall. And I was telling a little story then about my past rides, and probably about why I don't ride in groups, something like that. However, I know that Ainsworth Rider and his friends from the South Lancs Royal Enfield group, they seem to have really been on some wonderful rides out recently out into Derbyshire, and a lovely little village they stopped at. What a village green, perfect English village green it was. Quite a few of those in the south of England where I used to live. I'm sure there are some up here in the northwest of England. I shall seek them out. think we're coming up to the caravan or static home parks up here. I think that's where these people have been walking from. Notice here we are along the left and the right. One of these used to be a children's home called the Leeds Children's Home. They've even got their own stagecoach bus pulls in for them. I must say the stagecoach buses up here, they run to all these small villages. You just caught a glimpse there of the sea. That's Morecambe Bay over on the left hand side, and a few more glimpses as we pass down this little hill up the other side. And up the sands of Morecambe Bay. Little cove there. Some of you may also know that we should be getting the Eden Project North in the next few years. It's been a bit stop-go with the COVID thing, but seems to be on track again. And I think probably set for 2024-25 maybe. If you've been down to the one in near St Austell, the Eden Project in Cornwall, that's quite a different thing. Our one will be a maritime Eden Project, which reflects the nature of Morecambe Bay. Now this climbs up here quite steadily, and there's Arnside Knot that I mistook for Warden Crag previously. So yes, Arnside Knot, and over on the right hand side that leads, you can get some reasonable views down over there. Back in the winter this was all flooded. Yeah, it's one of my favourite little circular runs. Though it's not a huge distance, in terms of pleasure per mile, it rates as one of my all-time favourites. There's such a variety of riding. I think that's the pleasure, and it's always fairly quiet. At the moment we do seem to need to grab the opportunity to get out riding when the weather's decent as often as we can, because it's really been so changeable, and I know that on the continent of Europe we've been suffering incredibly high temperatures, most uncomfortable and actually quite dangerous. Anyone with a heart condition, not good at all. Economical Rides over in Spain, he's been suffering with the heat in his little dog Ruby. Very hard to keep cool. That hasn't stopped him getting out and producing some videos each week, every Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. This is Ironside. We're dropping down towards the seaside. In an earlier ride that about Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Rupert Bear, and I have actually managed to get myself an up-to-date copy where he talks about a couple of errors that he put in mistakenly in the original book. One error, and he's revised the ending to make it less like a Hollywood ending. He felt it, one or two people said more of a Hollywood ending, which he didn't care for, so he revised it with an alternative ending. But rereading it again, as I have the first few chapters, I realised how influential it was. He talks about the immediacy of riding a motorcycle, being on two wheels, so that the ground is just beneath your feet, unlike a car where you're encased in metalware, or if you've got a plastic car, of course it's plastic, which is, you're just divorced from it. You might as well be watching a television, or watching a YouTube video, I suppose. Weird riding along here. Maybe. But no, I've been quite nice to revisit that book. So trying to find time for reading and doing all the other things that I'm doing and getting out riding. It's been quite difficult. How I ever managed to find time to work, I have no idea. Didn't do a fraction of what I do now, of course. That's the answer, isn't it? I can see the sea. Sandy Bay. Lakeland Fells over the distance. South Lakeland, that is. Right, just going to pull along here, where I'm pleased to say they banned parking of motorhomes. Sleeping overnight. Can't pay, won't pay. Right, we'll just pull in here and have a little look at the bay itself. Nice breeze blowing, warm breeze, and that over there is the viaduct. And we're away again. It was quick, wasn't it? Didn't give you too long to look at that. You have to slow that part down a bit. So now we're heading out of Ironside up this road with the sea over on our left, but you can't see it. There used to be a railway line running along the side, which is now all overgrown. There is a footpath, I think. You can walk it, should you wish. Over the railway bridge, that disused railway line, and there's the sea again. And this part's called Sandside, very aptly named. Though it has to be said, it's less sand and more mud, and that's why we have so much wildlife, because it's very rich in all the things that the birds love. And now we're heading towards Millthorpe. The end of our ride. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's been a while, and so I thought I'd treat you, if treat me is the right word, to a slightly longer one. Anyway, hoping to get out again when the weather improves. Certainly isn't today, it's pouring with rain outside. Right, so I'll leave you now and wish you all well, and hope to see you again soon. And here's that little thing coming up that Murciamoto did for me. Thank you, Murciamoto.